Welcome to Whispers from the Cottage. This is Willowmere, a quiet village where evenings move slowly and nothing asks to be finished before it is ready. It's a place you can return to. Each Sunday, a new story unfolds here. Always gentle, always unhurried. Tonight, you don't need to solve anything. You don't need to make sense of the day or carry what is still unfinished into the night. This is a gentle sleep story for overthinking minds and tired hearts. In Willowmere, even what is unfinished is allowed to wait. There is no story you need to follow closely. No details you need to remember, only soft images and steady rhythm. Let your breathing slow, let the day remain where it is. Willowmere will hold it for you, and you are free to rest. The launderette is warm before you even step inside. You notice it first through the glass, the faint blur where warmth meets winter. Light pressed softly against the window, steady and patient, as if it has been waiting for you. When the door opens, the sound follows you in, a low hum, the slow, rhythmic turning of machines. Not loud enough to demand attention, only present enough to be felt. Inside, the air carries the quiet scent of clean fabric and heat. Not sharp, not sweet, just familiar. This is how the evenings usually begin here. She stands near the folding table, sleeves pushed back slightly, her hands resting for a moment on the edge of the wood. There is no rush in the way she stands. No sense that she is behind or ahead of anything. The machines move at their own pace. She has learned to let them, one by one. The round windows spin. Fabric presses briefly into view, then disappears again. Light flashes, softens, repeats. She waits. When a machine slows, she steps forward. Not quickly, not slowly either. Just when it feels ready. Warmth escapes as the door opens, rising gently as if relieved to stretch. She reaches in and lifts out a bundle of towels, heavy with heat. They settle into her arms without resistance. At the table, she shakes them once, not to snap them straight, only to let them fall into their own shape. The first towel is folded in half, then again, edges smoothed with the flat of her palm. She does not aim for perfection, only care. Each towel is given the same attention, not because they are the same, but because they deserve it. The stack grows slowly. Outside, the evening continues without interruption. Snow drifts past the window, gathering along the sill. The street beyond is quiet now, as if the village has already begun to lower its voice. Inside, the light does not change. Another machine turns, another waits. She moves between them with practiced ease. A step to the left, a pause, a glance, not to check, but to notice. This is her favorite hour, not because it is productive, but because it is complete. There are no conversations to keep up with here, no decisions waiting to be made, only the steady exchange between motion and stillness. She lifts a shirt from the dryer, holds it for a moment, letting the warmth pass from fabric to skin, then lays it flat. The creases are eased out slowly, not erased, softened. The shirt is folded and placed beside the towel. It does not need to be stacked perfectly. It only needs to be ready. A basket sits nearby, half full. Some items have been here longer than others. She knows this without checking the tags. Time behaves differently in this room. A machine clicks softly, signaling it has finished. She does not move right away. The sound lingers, then fades. It will wait. She finishes the towel in her hands first. This is something she learned long ago, that nothing here needs to be interrupted mid-motion. That care has its own rhythm. When she finally opens the machine, the drum is still warm. Inside, socks tumble together. Different colors, different sizes. She gathers them into her arms and brings them to the table. Pairs are found easily at first. Then, more slowly, one sock remains at the end. Just one. She turns it over once in her hand, looks at the heel, the cuff, then sets it aside without comment. It will find its place later, or it will not. Either way is acceptable. The machine beside it continues to turn, steady and unbothered. The hum fills the space left by thought. She wipes the table lightly with a cloth, not because it is dirty, because the motion feels right. The warmth in the room deepens as the evening goes on. Outside, the cold settles more firmly into the street. The contrast sharpens, but gently. Here, nothing presses in. Another towel is folded. Another stack is straightened just enough. She steps back once, assessing the room, not to judge it, only to see it. Everything that needs attention has it. Everything else can wait. The machines are still turning, and as long as they are, the evening holds together. There is no signal yet that this hour needs to end. No sign that the night requires anything more. She rests her hands on the table again, feels the warmth still held there. For now, this is enough. The sound is different from the others. Not the low, steady hum she has learned to listen past, but a brief, sharper note, the bell above the door. It rings once, then again, softer, as the door closes behind it. Cold enters the room, not aggressively, just enough to be noticed. The warmth adjusts around it, the way it always does. Air shifts. Steam thins for a moment, then gathers itself again. She does not look up right away. Her hands are still busy with a sheet, smoothing it once, folding it carefully along a line she knows by feel. She finishes the fold before turning. By the door, someone stands quietly, a coat darkened by melted snow, shoulders slightly raised, as if still holding on to the cold outside. Boots pause on the mat, unsure whether to move further in. Nothing is said. There is no expectation that it should be. The bell above the door settles back into silence. She nods once not as a greeting exactly, but as an acknowledgement, as if to say, "You are here now." The person steps further inside. The room seems to make space for them, not visibly, just enough. They move toward the machines without hurry. A basket is set down. The sound is dull, absorbed by the floor. She returns to her work. This is not unusual. People come in like this sometimes, carrying the weather with them, carrying more than that. She listens to the rhythm change slightly. Another presence added to the room. Another breath woven into the quiet. A machine door opens. Fabric is loaded inside. The sound is careful, almost apologetic. The machine begins its cycle with a familiar click, then settles into motion. Cold gives way to warmth. Gradually, she lifts another bundle from the dryer. Steam rises, faint and brief. She holds the fabric a moment longer than necessary, letting the heat pass through her hands. Across the room, the other person stands near their machine. They watch it turn, then look away, as if checking on it too often might ask something of it. She notices the way they stay close to the wall, the way their coat remains on, unbuttoned but not removed. She does not comment. There is a particular kind of tiredness that arrives with winter, not heavy, just persistent. The towel in her hands is folded, placed carefully. She moves to wipe the table again, slower this time. The cloth follows the grain of the wood. Behind her, a machine clicks once, unevenly, then resumes its rhythm. She turns her head slightly. The other person has stepped back, watching the machine as if listening for something specific. Their hands rest at their sides, unsure where else to go. It will settle, she knows. They always do. She waits. The sound evens out. The turning becomes smooth again. No one reacts. The moment passes. Snow continues to brush softly against the window. The street outside remains still. She brings a folded stack to the basket, adjusts it once. The other person moves now, taking off their coat. They hang it on the back of a chair near the wall. It drips quietly onto the floor. The sound is small, contained. They sit, not heavily, just enough to rest. Time stretches. The machines turn. She moves to the sink and rinses her hands briefly, drying them on a cloth that has seen many evenings like this one. The water is warm, predictable. When she turns back, she notices a small pile left beside the other machine. Clothes that have been removed but not yet folded. She does not approach them. Instead, she continues with her own. The room does not require coordination, only coexistence. Minutes pass this way, or perhaps longer. At some point, the other machine slows. The turning falters, then stops. The person rises slowly, opens the door. Willowmere escapes. They lift out the clothes, then pause. Something slips from the pile and falls to the floor. A small thing, light. They bend to pick it up, hesitate, then straighten again. The item is held loosely in their hand. She sees it from where she stands. A sock, just one. They look at it, then at the basket, then back at the machine. The moment stretches. Uncertain, she finishes folding what she is holding before she speaks. Sometimes, she says quietly, they come through alone. Her voice is calm, unremarkable. The person looks up. She gestures gently toward the table, not insisting, only offering. They can rest there. The sock is placed beside the others, not paired, not corrected. The person nods once, sits back down. The warmth in the room seems to settle deeper now, as if reassured. She returns to her work, the rhythm unchanged. Nothing more needs to be said. The machines are still turning, and for now, that is enough. It is often the small things that remain, not the heavy pieces, not the ones that announce themselves, just what lingers after the rest has been gathered. She notices it when the machine near the wall finishes its cycle, not because of the sound that has already softened into silence, but because the room feels slightly different when one rhythm ends. She waits a moment before moving. This pause is familiar. Machines stop often. Moments deserve to settle. When she opens the door, the drum releases a quiet breath of warmth. Inside, the clothes are still, loose, unconcerned. She lifts them out carefully and places them on the table. Across the room, the other person sits with their hands folded loosely in their lap. They are watching now, not intently, just aware. She begins to sort. A shirt smoothed flat, sleeves guided into place. The fabric remembers its shape easily, as if relieved to be handled gently. A towel follows, then another. The pile grows smaller. At the bottom, something light remains. She picks it up. A scarf, thin, softened by wear, the kind that has been wrapped many times without ceremony. She holds it between her hands for a moment longer than the others, feels the warmth still held in its fibers. It is folded once, then again, but as she places it aside, she notices something else. A pocket, unnoticed until now. Her fingers find it naturally, without searching. She reaches inside. What she pulls out is small, a scrap of paper folded in on itself more than once. Edges softened, creases worn thin. She does not open it right away. She sets it on the table. In this place, nothing needs to be rushed into meaning. She finishes folding the remaining clothes first, one item at a time. No interruptions. When the pile is complete, she returns to the paper. It feels light in her hand, almost weightless. She opens it carefully. There is no message. Not really. Just a name, written once, then again, more faintly beneath it. She does not read it aloud. She does not need to. Names pass through this room often. They arrive, folded into fabric, pressed into labels, stitched quietly into corners. They do not always stay. She folds the paper again, following the existing creases, places it beside the scarf. Across the room, the other person shifts slightly in their chair, not toward her, just adjusting their weight. The movement is enough. She looks up. Their eyes meet briefly. There is no question there, only recognition. She gestures gently toward the table. Some things, she says, arrive carrying more than they seem. Her voice does not linger. The person nods. Once they stand and come closer, stopping at the edge of the table. They look at the folded scarf, at the small square of paper. They do not reach for either. Instead, they exhale. The sound is quiet, but it changes the room. She steps back slightly, giving space. Nothing here needs to be claimed immediately. The machines hum softly again as another cycle begins nearby. The rhythm returns, steady and forgiving. The person picks up the scarf at last, holds it for a moment, then sets it back down. It can stay, she says gently. Just for tonight. The words are simple. They do not explain themselves. The person nods again. They sit back down. She places the scarf and the folded paper into a small basket beneath the table. Not hidden, just kept. There are other things there already. Items waiting without urgency. She straightens the table once more, smooths the cloth, returns to the machines. Outside, the snow continues its quiet work. Inside, the warmth holds. Nothing has been resolved. Nothing has been lost. Only noticed, and that, here, is enough. There are moments when nothing more can be done, not because effort has failed, but because the shape of the evening has changed. She senses it before she names it. The machines continue their turning, but with more space between them now. One stands quiet, another hums at a lower pitch, nearing its end. The room feels wider. She moves toward the small basket beneath the table, the one that holds what has been set aside. She does not crouch right away. Instead, she stands there for a moment, hands resting loosely at her sides. Unfinished things have a particular weight, not heavy, just present. She lowers herself slowly and lifts the basket onto the table. Inside, the scarf rests where she placed it, folded neatly but not tight. The small square of paper lies beneath it, edges just visible. She does not touch either yet. Across the room, the other person watches quietly. They do not lean forward. They do not look away. The watching is soft. She turns her attention to the last machine still running. It clicks, then slows. The turning stretches, then comes to rest. She opens it and removes the clothes inside. There are only a few. She folds them carefully, one by one. The movements are familiar enough to feel almost invisible. When she finishes, there is nothing left on the table but the basket. She sits. This is not something she always does, but tonight it feels right. The chair creaks slightly beneath her weight, then settles. The sound is brief, Easily absorbed, she lifts the scarf. The fabric is cooler now, having released most of its warmth. Still, it feels soft in her hands. She refolds it once, aligning the edges gently, not to improve it, only to care for it. Then she unfolds it again. Sometimes she has learned neatness is not the point. She lays the scarf flat and places the folded paper on top. The paper remains closed. There is no need to open it further. What it holds has already been acknowledged. She looks at the basket, at the other small items inside. A glove without its pair, a button found loose in a dryer, a note left behind long enough ago that its handwriting has softened with time. None of these things have demanded resolution. They have only waited. She places the scarf and paper back into the basket. Then she does something small. She slides the basket to the end of the table, closer to the wall. Not hidden, but no longer in the center. A quiet decision. Some things are allowed to rest without being finished. The other person exhales again, this time more fully. The sound reaches her, but she does not turn. She stands and returns the basket to its place beneath the table. Her movements remain unhurried. At the sink, she rinses her hands. The water runs warm, then cooler. She dries them carefully. When she turns back, she notices the other person standing now, coat in hand. They pause, glancing once toward the table, then toward her. She meets their eyes. "There's no need," she says gently, "to decide everything tonight." The words are not instructions. They are permissioned. The person nods. They hang their coat back on the chair, sit down again. The machines are silent now. The room holds a deeper quiet. She dims the light slightly. Not off, just lower. The warmth remains, but softer now, as if preparing itself for rest. She gathers the folded stacks and places them neatly into their baskets. Each one finds its place without effort. Nothing is forced to align. Outside, snow continues to fall. Inside, the evening loosens its grip. She wipes the table once more, slower than before, then folds the cloth and sets it aside. There is nothing else that needs doing. She stands still for a moment, hands resting lightly on the edge of the table. Unfinished does not mean undone. It means waiting. And here, waiting is allowed. The shift is subtle. There is no clear moment when the evening decides to change. It does not announce itself. It simply begins to loosen its hold. The launderette grows quieter, not because anything stops abruptly, but because there is less left to move. The machines are still now, their doors closed, their warmth settled deep inside the metal. She notices the silence, the way one notices a familiar room after a sound has faded. Not as absence, as space that has opened gently. She moves more slowly now, though there is no longer a reason to hurry. Her steps are light, measured, almost careful of the quiet itself. Across the room, the other person stands. They lift their basket, adjusting its weight once, then again, as if making sure nothing has been forgotten. Their movements are unhurried, thoughtful. The scarf remains where it is. The small folded paper stays beneath it. Nothing is mentioned. Some things do not need to be named to be understood. She meets them halfway, not to help, but to be present. They exchange a brief look, not gratitude, not farewell, just recognition. The door opens. Cold enters again, briefly, less sharply this time, as if even the night has learned to soften its edges. The other person steps out into the street, pulling their coat closer as the door closes behind them. The bell rings once, then settles back into stillness. Outside, footsteps press lightly into the snow. The sound fades quickly. Absorbed by the quiet, she remains where she is. The room seems to exhale. She turns toward the window and looks out. The street is almost empty now. Lights glow behind curtains, some dimmer than before, some already gone dark. Snow continues its steady descent, unhurried, unremarkable, faithful. She reaches for the switch and turns off one of the overhead lights. The change is immediate, but gentle. The room becomes smaller, more contained. Warmth pulls closer to the floor, gathering where it is needed. She gathers the remaining baskets and sets them neatly along the wall. Nothing is stacked too high. Nothing is pressed into place. At the table, she pauses again. The basket beneath it is still there, unchanged. She leaves it. Some things belong to the night, not to the end of the day. She wipes the counter near the sink, slower now than earlier. The cloth follows the familiar shape of the surface. Her hands know where to go without instruction. She dries them carefully, then folds the cloth and sets it aside. Habit holds easily at this hour. She slips into her coat, smoothing the fabric once at the shoulder, once at the sleeve. The gesture feels almost ceremonial, though she does not think of it that way. The door remains open a moment longer than necessary. Warm air drifts out into the street, lingering briefly before dissolving into the cold. She stands there, listening. No voices, no passing cars. Only the quiet rhythm of the village, settling deeper into itself. When she finally turns back inside, she switches off the remaining light. The room does not disappear all at once. It softens, edges blur, shadows deepen without effort. She closes the door. The lock clicks softly into place. Outside, the launderette becomes just another darkened window among many. Inside, the warmth lingers, held by walls that have learned how to keep it. The evening moves on, without hurry, without demand, and nothing is left behind that cannot wait, closing without ending. The village does not notice when one light goes out. It rarely does. The launderette is dark now, but it does not feel empty, only quiet in a deeper way. The warmth that filled the room earlier has not vanished. It has settled into the walls, into the floor, into the small space beneath the table, where a basket waits. Outside, the night continues without pause. Snow drifts steadily downward, gathering softly along doorsteps and window ledges. It smooths the edges of the street, blurring what was sharp, softening what once asked for attention. A few doors close further down the road, carefully, as if each sound knows it belongs to the night now. She walks slowly along the pavement, her footsteps absorbed almost immediately. There is no echo here, nothing to answer back. As she moves, she passes other windows. Some glow faintly, others have already gone dark. Each one holds its own version of the evening. A kettle left to cool, a book placed face down, marking a place without insisting it be remembered, a chair pulled closer to warmth. She does not look long at any of them. The village is good at this, holding lives side by side without asking them to intersect. At the corner, she pauses, not because she needs to rest, but because there is nothing pulling her forward. The air feels fuller here, not heavy, just complete. She breathes in slowly. The cold is gentle, the kind that clears without demanding. Somewhere, a radio murmurs low behind a wall. Not words, just presence. The sound drifts briefly, then settles back into stillness. She continues on. The street curves slightly, as if it never intended to lead anywhere in particular. Snow rests along the stones, dulling their shine. A lamp above a doorway glows softly, not bright enough to guide anyone, only bright enough to welcome them home. She passes beneath it and keeps walking. Behind her, the launderette remains exactly as it is. Nothing has changed inside. The scarf still rests where it was placed. The folded paper remains beneath it. The small basket waits without urgency. There is no sense of incompletion, only continuation. The village understands this. Nothing here insists on resolution. Nothing asks to be finished. As the night deepens, the remaining lights dim a fraction more. Curtains are drawn a little further. Sounds soften. The village does not close itself off. It simply settles. She reaches her door and pauses once more, keys in hand. For a moment, she listens. Snow, distance, quiet. Then she steps inside. The door closes behind her, gentle and unremarkable. The sound fades quickly, absorbed like everything else. Outside, Willowmere continues to breathe, not holding on, not letting go, just staying, and that is enough. What waits until morning? By now, there is very little left to notice, and that is exactly enough. The village has grown quiet in a deeper way. Not the kind of quiet that feels empty, but the kind that feels complete. Snow continues to fall, though you no longer need to listen for it. It has become part of the background, like a steady breath. You trust without counting. Lights that remained on earlier dim a little more. Some turn off, others stay, glowing softly, without urgency. Nothing is waiting to be finished. The launderette rests in darkness now. Its windows hold no light, yet the warmth from earlier seems to linger, as if memory itself has weight. Inside, the machines are still. The table is clear. Beneath it, the small basket waits quietly. The scarf remains folded. The paper stays closed. Neither asks for anything. They are simply held. Elsewhere in the village, small lives settle into their nights. A kettle cools on a stove. A chair remains near a window. A book lies where was last opened, perfectly content to wait. Nothing needs to be decided. Before morning, the streets no longer ask to be seen. They soften into one another, stone and snow and shadow blending gently together. You may notice your own attention beginning to loosen, not drifting away, just resting more lightly. Thoughts pass more slowly now. Some fade before they finish forming. Others move through without asking to be followed. Your body knows this rhythm. Shoulders lower, jaw releases, breath moves in, then out. The village does not ask you to stay awake. It does not ask you to remember. It does not ask anything at all. It simply continues. What was unfinished remains safely so. What was noticed has been noticed enough. What was carried has been set down. At least for now, there is no edge you need to reach, no moment you need to mark. Sleep is not something you must find here. It is something that happens when nothing else is required. Willowmere fades from view, not because it disappears, but because you no longer need to see it. It stays exactly where it is. Snow continues its quiet work. The night remains kind, and you are free to rest now. Sleep well, dear one. You are safe, and the night will hold you